You're listening to Dad Devotionals with Dave Domzalski. Subscribe to our newsletter at daddevotionals.com/subscribe. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast like Dad Devotionals? Well, you can, and it's easier than you think. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, let me give you a quick rundown. Basically, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Anchor's what I use to distribute Dad Devotionals. Here's how it works. Anchor lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to the most popular listening platforms, including Spotify, with a single tap. Anchor is also the only place you can publish video podcasts to Spotify. With Anchor, creators can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Want to check it out? Download the Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started. Hey there, Dad. Do you want a job you can do online? What about a way to bring in some extra money for the family? If so, check out paidtowrite.co. That's paidtowrite.co. You can write articles, blog posts, social media posts, reviews, and more. Go to paidtowrite.co, click on the video, and Sarah will be happy to tell you how to get started. paidtowrite.co. Go there now. It only takes one generation to create an unrecognizable world. This is both practical and attainable. We just have to rewrite the program, empower our children, and enjoy the journey. Conscious effort is the key to empowering children all over the world to create their own story from the very beginning. Those are the wise words of my guest today. His name is Jay Aedo. Jay is an international entrepreneur, teacher of practical philosophy, and children's book author. Born and raised in Southern California, Jay often felt the weight of the different belief systems his parents, teachers, and religious leaders followed. Jay's series, Conscious Bible Stories, tells biblical stories from a super conscious perspective, and we'll get into what that means in just a bit. His mission is to show others how the truth of God lies within us all. He encourages his young readers to take responsibility for their actions and to never be fearful of speaking up for themselves. Jay, welcome to Dad Devotionals. It's so great to have you, my friend.
Wow, what an intro. Thanks for having me, David. I'm excited to be here.
No problem at all. So let's start with this, because I really want to know myself. What do you mean when you say you tell Bible stories in a super conscious way? Can you paint that picture for us?
Yeah. Conscious to me means just more awareness than previously. So at one point we were unconscious and then we became conscious. And then, for instance, like when we watch movies, sometimes we watch the same movie over and over. And, like the second time or the third time, we see something that we didn't see before. We became conscious of something that previously we were unconscious to. And I feel we can do this by saying what I mean by super conscious. It means you're doing it now on purpose. It's no longer you're just letting. Sometimes, we become enlightened by things by accident or seemingly accident, just because we're at the right place at the right time and we piece things together. And we become illuminated in a sense. We recognize something we didn't recognize before. And so super conscious means now you're doing it on purpose. You're purposefully taking conscious action, right. Making a effort to grow, to expand, to make yourself uncomfortable, to do the things that seem that you're actually afraid of, and then doing them anyway. That's like you're standing up for what you believe in a sense.
So how did you come to this? Does it have to do maybe with your family and your faith journey? Do you want to get into that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, it absolutely started with my family faith. Just growing up in a Christian household, like these stories that have been repeated throughout history were deeply impregnated into my system. Yeah. And, at some point I realized that the way that it works is like we've been programmed with these stories, the stories that our parents told us, that our teachers told us, who our government is, what our religion is, what our beliefs are. Like everything's already pre-programmed into the most vulnerable times of our lives. And so by the time we grow up, we defend these things because this is what we believe in. Sure. And so for a period of time, it was survival mode for humanity. Mm-hmm. And then so you have very little time to question your beliefs. But now that's what's happening. We have a lot of time. That's all what's going on now. We have the internet and we have time that we didn't have before. We don't have to focus on survival anymore. That's why these stories don't make me angry. The stories of this program, I actually like it. I actually feel it's here to make us stronger. But to recognize it for what it is, which is just a story. And the only thing that makes it real is the fact that we picked up and ran off with it. And we can break that at any point. And for us, it's a little bit more difficult, because we have to filter out these things out through our trauma, our childhood trauma. We have to filter it all out and make sense of things. But that's why I'm so excited about teaching this to parents and to kids, because it's like, let's just set the record straight from the beginning and empower them from the beginning. Show them that they have this power also to see things from perspectives and not get caught up with any one belief, and just to figure things out and create their own story, their own hero's journey in a sense. Because now we no longer have to focus on survival. Now we can focus on thriving. Yeah, and absolutely. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
And I guess become a unicorn like you have in the background there, right?
That's funny, right? I'm actually just renting a place because I'm traveling. So this is just one of those, like those offices that you rent for a couple hours.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I mean, it was set up perfectly. I thought this was all pre-planned. So
it obviously was. I was actually toying with another idea. I was going to show the other side, which is just a window, but I was like, let's go with the unicorn.
Yeah, better lighting to have the light, the natural light on your face. So good move. So you mentioned in my research when I was learning more about you and about what you stand for and everything, you mentioned the narrative of victimhood, where the protagonist fears responsibility and accuses others. I mean, how often do we do that? Accuses others of their own mistakes. How do you see that play out? And what can we do to combat it in ourselves, and then obviously help our kids with it?
Okay, so like healing any wound, the best way is to go to the core, to the root of where the wound stems from. So that's why I like to tell these old stories, these Bible stories. So the real version of the story, the Bible story, goes where the Adam and Eve story, we know that story, where when they eat from the forbidden fruit, and God confronts Adam, his first response is not me. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. It was the woman, as a matter of fact. The woman you gave me, right? It wasn't. So it's like these and obviously the Bible, with all these stories, Cain and Abel, Adam and Eve, they're more telling us what not to do, right? How not to act. And that's why I like to tell the stories about, how to act. Like this is what, instead of where Adam denies responsibility when confronted by God, it was more like a team effort. Eve didn't go behind his back either. Eve didn't go behind his back and she became curious, and she goes to Adam and she says, hey, that forbidden fruit God told us about, like just playful and curious. Well, I want to eat some. Want to eat some with me? And, and Adam's like, I don't know, Eve, this seems kind of dangerous, right? We could lose everything, and she's like, well, not if we do it together. We can hold hands and never let go. And then so they take a leap of faith together. It's a different story to where now everything, it still has resistance and conflict. This something that a good story should have, but it also, there's no victims and there's no perpetrators. These are conscious actions being taken. And that's what, they came to realize when, after they do it, they wake up the next day, they eat the forbidden fruit, they wake up the next day and they become aware of something that they weren't aware of before. Right. They realize, look around, there's nothing else like us. I mean, because we can do things and make things like God does. And that's the difference. And so now we're building. No longer are we thrown out of paradise because we took something for granted. We never earned it. We don't deserve it. And then these stories are impregnated into our system. We're never enough. We could never accumulate enough zeros in our bank account. We're not enough. And that's how the story goes. It just gets the stories get to the modern times. These are the words we're using today, but it's the same old story. And we're just picking up and running off with an old story and slowly becoming more and more conscious of it because we have all this time now.
Right. And I think also to a degree, though, you missed we missed the point of the story entirely, right? I mean, the whole point is they separated themselves from God. And now it's like this whole idea of like, how do we get back to where we were supposed to be from the very beginning? You know what I mean? So it's fascinating. And I like your approach of, you can come top down from it and say, hey, this is where they went wrong, but let's instead focus on how we can prevent that from happening in our own life. Now, we're all going to stumble. We're all going to fall. We're all going to have issues that we have to deal with. But how do we have the tools, especially with our kids at a very young age? How do we give them the tools and help instill in them the tools and even model the tools, really, to live a God-filled life, to live a true Christian life? So do you want to speak to that for a second?
What was it again?
So how do we, now that we understand it from the super conscious perspective, right? How do we give our kids those tools to move forward?
Yeah, we introduce them to stories because after all we have is stories. That's what history, we're telling history. We just got caught up by history, right? But now we have to focus on our story. And the way to do that is not by denying history. Denying history is like denying ourselves. So let's be very clear about where we come from, right? We're not changing the story. We're showing the old story and we're showing a new, right? This more empowering story. And then that's when you show different perspectives, then that's when you can teach them how to do this for themselves. You don't even have to tell them. They see what you're doing. Our kids, as kids, we never do what our parents tell us to do. We do what our parents do.
Right. Oh, such a good point.
How we lead by example.
Oh, I love it. And that is a perfect spot to take a break here. Let's take a moment to thank our sponsors. When we come back, we'll chat more with Jay about his conscious Bible stories. We will be right back, folks. Dad, are you a fan of outdoor and military surplus gear? What about t-shirts to show off your love for the good old US of A? If that's you, Dad, check out beartracks.com. That's bear, BEAR tracks, TRAX.com. bear-tracks.com. The father-daughter team of Bill and Jaden started Bear Tracks because of their love for the outdoors. You'll even hear Bill discuss Bear Tracks in episode 2 of the Family VC podcast. Their focus is on great customer service, making customers feel safe and welcome and proud to be Americans. With Bear Tracks, they want you to feel like a kid again. Go over to bear-tracks.com and find your favorite gear. All right, we're back with Jay. We're continuing our conversation about conscious Bible stories and the series he continues to come out with. So let's dive in, Jay, about the books themselves. Can you walk us through their design and how they're created and how they help kids?
Yeah, so these stories are designed to be resonating with the parent that recognizes these stories. These stories have been repeated. The Cain and Abel story, the Adam and Eve story, God and Lucifer. These are very popular characters that the majority of humanity knows about. And so you introduce these stories in a way where to your kids as any other story that you tell them.
Okay.
Right? We're just sharing stories at the end of the day, but you ask them questions and you see where they're at. And just like when you're making friends with people, like you have to cater the conversation to whom you're speaking to. So these are kids. It depends on their age, but we're telling them stories anyway, and this is just another story that I find empowering to myself and I know it to be empowering to other people as well. So I just figure, let's start with kids. Let's get efficient.
Absolutely. So we have a lot, a wide range of dads that listen in. Mostly you're going to have people in like the millennial time frame, like early, or like later stage Gen X. So can you talk to us about who your target audience is with these stories? Are we thinking like, more like first graders, or can they, can folks who are, even up to like, eighth grade really get something out of it? Do you want to talk about that for a second?
Sure. I mean, really, I'd like to cater more toward the parent reading this to their kids.
Okay.
Uh, and because really, like, we didn't read these stories when we were kids. These stories were more told to us,
Mm-hmm.
and so I would say for parents that really love to resonate with their kids, a good way to do that and bonding is reading time. You introduce that at an early age, and this instills some sort of bond and discipline within the family structure, and that's just another good opportunity. And then who knows if because as kids we pick our favorite stories. Maybe this will be one of their favorite stories that they pick up later in life.
Absolutely. So I saw on the website you have Cain and Abel out now, right? Do you have any others out, or do you have like a timetable of what you'll be releasing and when?
Yeah, so right now we just recently released the Cain and Abel story, and I'm working on the illustration of the Adam and Eve story, and I'm working my way back. I'll finish it up with God and Lucifer, which starts before the beginning, by the way.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. So are you doing the writing and the illustration?
I'm not doing the illustration. I'm
Okay.
working with helping me with that. So there's a delay with that. That's the only delay. As soon as we get that in order, it'll be released. So it could
Okay.
be another.
Wonderful. All right. So I know, but in your bio and everything, you've also done other entrepreneurial endeavors, right? So do you want to talk to us about, you're the international entrepreneur? Can you tell us about other things that you've been working on?
Sure. So, I mean, the reason I have so much time to tell stories is because I actually built a business, an e-commerce business. It's not that big, but it gives me the space and time that I need to get more creative with the things that I actually want. And so now I can do things on purpose, right? And I can work on the things that I want. And so I feel like I'm doing that. Like I'm doing things on purpose rather than just being swept away by the accidents that have taken us. And so I'm excited, to see where these stories will take us, right? Because I can see where they're coming from, right? Like they're coming from a pure place. This is the best of myself. I'm giving you my best. And then so I'm excited because I have this great vision, of like where we're going. Like it's like our potential. And so I'm excited to see how, I'm excited to do what it takes to get there. And I think things exponentially change. So I feel like within our lifetime, we're going to see something drastic happen. We're actually going to be excited and proud about humanity.
Wow, wonderful, man. Well, you're talking about, building yourself up as you're trying to also build these parents up and helping their kids build them up. So it's like, wow, you really got a threefold effect here. And, you're expecting this big momentous thing. I mean, you're really inspiring all of us, I think.
Let's do it.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, you really are you're living up to that unicorn status behind you there. So really quick, just because I'm interested, what is the e-commerce business that you're working on?
Yeah, so I sell water purification drops. I package it. It's catered more to like outdoorsy people. It's just keywords, nothing fancy.
Absolutely. I also have another show that I'm launching, for Dad Devotionals. I'm trying to be the content that you have in your ear from Sunday to Sunday. So trying to keep you on par with what, how you want to live a God-filled life, Monday through Saturday. So we have a family VC show that I created to talk to entrepreneurs like yourself and things like that. So I may need to have you on that because that's the whole keyword and SEO and that whole world, very, very important. And I think especially right now where folks, we're dealing with inflation, things like that, everyone seems to have the need for a side hustle. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. Well,
Absolutely.
now it's time for the lightning round. This is my favorite segment of the show, and I think it's going to be yours as well. So it's quick answers. First thing that comes to mind, 20 seconds or less. You ready to go?
Let's do it.
Excellent. First one, what's something that you are struggling with right now?
Actually, my brother died recently.
Oh, wow.
And
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. And just coincidentally, I found out, so I hadn't visited my parents in 3 years. Wow. And I came to visit them recently, and it just so happened that I was there when my sister found out, because she's the emergency contact. And we were all together when we got this news, right? We had to break it to our parents. And, the struggle that I'm going through is putting myself now in that role for somebody who is saying the things that my parents need to hear right now that nobody else.
Wow.
Because I'm the youngest. So it's like, I got to step up and play this role now. Okay.
Right. Wow, man. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure that's hard to share with people, especially ones you don't know, like me. Just really quick. I'm sorry.
That's what happens in the lightning round.
Yeah, that's true. Well, look, I'm an Orthodox Christian, and we have a saying that we say for folks, may your brother's memory be eternal. And I truly do mean that. God bless you and your family as you continue to go through this. So the second question I got is, what's your best advice to someone who is struggling out there right now?
I mean, I really feel genuinely, the truth is that everyone's doing their best all the time, even at their worst. And so oftentimes we don't give ourselves enough credit, and we take ourselves for granted. And we do that with the people around us too. Mm. The best advice I can give you is to practice recognizing the things within yourself that you really value and are grateful for. These are characteristics, things that of things that make you who you are. And then start doing this with the people around you, and then telling them what you see. Mm. Don't take people for granted. Tell them what they mean to you.
Yeah.
Do it with yourself as well.
Oh man, that's beautiful. And folks out there that are struggling with a similar situation, now you think about that, and you want to tell those people, because, especially over the last couple of years, there are many people that didn't get that chance. So I think it's a beautiful sentiment that you're reminding us of that. So thank you. What Christian do you admire, and why?
Christian. I mean, I really admire my dad. Mm. I feel like a long way. And he's more open than ever. And at his old age, he's we find it harder and harder to let go of our beliefs the older we get. And so I feel that he's really done a really great job of opening himself up and making himself way more vulnerable than he would have ever done in the past.
Wow, that's really cool. That's a lesson for all of us guys right there. Be open for our kids now. As they're growing up, as you're trying to influence them, as you're trying to help be super conscious about your parenting and about the biblical stories that you introduce to them. Be vulnerable, be open. That's beautiful. That's a lesson for all of us. Best book on parenting that you've come across?
I'm going to be straight up with you, David. I've never read a single parenting book.
Okay.
And I don't know if this comes at a shock. I don't know how much you know about me, but I'm not even a parent.
I didn't think so, but I didn't want to. I just figured maybe in your research you might have come across something that you want to share. Any other resource that you think would be helpful?
I mean, there's so many great books out there. It depends where you're at. I mean, there's business. We live in a time where you can learn anything. And there's many great books. You spirituality. There's Eckhart Tolle. There's business. There's Tony Robbins mixed with spirituality. Like, it depends on your personality, what you gravitate to, what you want out of life, what you're willing to do to get it. I mean, the idea is like, even on YouTube, you can get all these books for free, the audiobooks. You just type in the title. Anything, you're the creator. You gear what you want to know. Like, it's already evident that where we're like, the story of go to college and get a job forever, like that story's not playing out, right? Like, so the idea is like, learn what you want. Don't overextend yourself. Like, meaning like, don't buy things you can't afford, so that you can continue to explore until you figure out what you want, and you can monetize it if that's what you wish. I mean, the idea is like, you can do and be anything you want, and not aim toward just accumulating ones and zeros in our bank account. Like, aim toward what we really want out of life, and know that we have just as much time as we need to figure it out.
Great advice. And you're actually this is my second interview today so far, and you're the second person to tell me YouTube is a resource. So I guess we need to be focused more on that, right? We need to be using it not to watch cat videos or, just America's Funniest Home Videos or whatever, but actually use it as the resource. The gentleman that I interviewed before, he said, you could have your own little mini NBA if you just, you're looking for the right things, the things that'll empower you. So great advice. Really? All right, last one. Name a Bible verse that you're meditating on lately.
Bible verse. I can't think of a single Bible verse, David. But
what about a quote? You have a quote in mind, maybe?
From the Bible?
Yeah. Or just a Christian quote.
Yeah, I do, actually.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so this one has a little bit of a backstory. So do you have a minute?
No, please tell me.
Okay, so this goes to when Jesus is in town, and the king's men have come down to collect taxes from the people. Mm-hmm. And so, Jesus is like the wise man in town. So they come to him. Well, Jesus, should we pay taxes? And he picks up a coin, right? He picks up one of the gold coins and he looks at it. And he asks, well, whose face is on the coin? And he responds, it's Caesar's face. Well, then his answer is simple: well, then give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's. And this is one of the things I actually think about this a lot, because I think the meaning of this has been lost in translation. And so the idea is, in modern days, you pick up a piece of cash and it says the Federal Reserve on it, right? So this is modern day. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. So the Federal Reserve notes, give the Federal Reserve what is theirs. Mm-hmm. So the reason they can tax us on it is because it's theirs to tax. They created the game. They created it. So, and you want to play in it. If you don't, go live in the woods, right? You don't have to pay tax.
Right.
You want to play in the game. This is the price that it takes. Right. So, and then give to God what is God's. That's give yourself your due. That means you earn things, right? That's the point of the sacrifice, is that you pay the price to get what you want, like a breath of fresh air, right? You have to compensate that, right? The oxygen, you have to compensate it with carbon dioxide. Yeah. If you try to hoard that oxygen, what's going to happen? You're going to lose consciousness. Right. And that's where we're at with these things. Like, we tend to lose ourselves in the story, and we forgot where things stem from. And then so as soon as we value ourselves the most, well, then it's no problem to pay our due to society if we want to participate in it. Or if we know there's lots of people who are setting up a really nice life. They build a cabin and they live off the land, right? different ways of going about life. But what's happened is that we've gotten so ingrained into the system that we've become in debt to the system, right? Because we are acting the way that the stories go. So the stories go that we're in debt. We're never enough. And so we just pick up and run off with the same old stories. And so we're at a point now, this is a pivot point for all of us, where we can actually make this conscious choice to not fall for the trap, to not be in debt to the system, to live freely, to live, to value the things that we tend to take for granted, to value those most. And then everything else will fall in place.
Man, very, very well said. I appreciate you laying it out like that. As you were talking, I couldn't help but think, what are you focused on? Are you focused on the world? Or are you focused on your relationship with God and how you can better others? And you do that by first stepping out in faith and bettering yourself. So thank you for painting that picture for us. I really do appreciate it. Well, look, man, we are just about out of time. Before we go, tell us where we can grab a copy of Conscious Bible Stories, know where we can follow, when you're coming out with new ones, and connect with you.
Yeah, go to consciousbiblestories.com, Instagram at Conscious Bible Stories. We're on Amazon. We're Barnes and Noble. Pretty much anywhere you can find a book, just type in Conscious Bible Stories, and we'll pop up. You can reach out to me anytime.
Where can folks reach out to you?
Instagram.
Okay.
I'm on there.
Perfect. All right, well, guys, I will link all of that up in the show notes. Jay, thanks so much for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it. May God grant you many blessed years for you and your family and all those that you serve. Take care and God bless.
Thank you, David.
Thanks for listening to Dad Devotionals. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter at daddevotionals.com/subscribe. Until then, God bless.